Ford truck, F250 turbo diesel. I'm converting this to the newer style 7.3 Super Duty, and what you have to do is kind of chop this little nub off down in here. So there's this little nub where the original lower idler pulley was mounted, and for the Super Duty one, what you do is you chop that off right there, and then you mount the Super Duty one, which goes in the original spot, but it has two wheels mounted on the same spot. It pivots right in the middle right there. And so the way to take care of it, the Ford service bulletin, what it says to do is you actually chop this off right here, and then it clears for the Super Duty style one. You can put it down in there. So I have to grind that nice and flush, cut that off, and you cut a little bit of that little wing right there off where I'm pointing. So what I need to do is chop this back to about here to make room for the belt once I put the Super Duty tensioner on. There's just not enough room down in there for the cutoff tool that I have that's air compressed, so I'm going to go ahead and use the electric angle grinder. But I got this at Harbor Freight as well. It's a metal cutoff wheel for the 4.5 inch 40 grit. Stick this down in there and see if I can't get it cut off.
Smoking hot.
Yeah, so she started smoking on me. I turned it off. I wasn't sure what was smoking down in there, but that brand new grinder is hot. $9 grinder started smoking. So cut that about halfway through. I'm gonna give it just a second to cool down. Maybe stick a grinder wheel on there next. Try and get it the rest of the way off.
Using that good old-fashioned manpower there. Right? Lots of manpower behind that. So you can see this is what we're kind of dealing with here.
All right, I just used this little guy right here, little tool that came with my $9 grinder, to switch over to the grinding wheel instead of the cutting wheel. So now I'm just gonna grind that little nub flat in there where the original idler pulley was, and get that nice and flush and flat. Alright guys, so just tried to get that in there, and I didn't shoot a video of it because I had both my hands busy. And there it is right there, in case you're curious what it looks like. That's the Super Duty belt tensioner I'm trying to upgrade to. And yeah, there's the spot I need to grind down. It's on the alternator bracket, okay? So this is the alternator, and below that is the alternator bracket, and then below that is like the, you know, motor. So what we're doing right now is I'm grinding on the Super Duty. I'm grinding on the OBS alternator bracket to try and make it fit more like the Super Duty bracket, so that I can do the dual pulley belt tensioner like the Ford service manual calls for. And I'll go ahead and post a link in the description below to the Ford technical service bulletin, the TSB, that describes, you know, how to do this exactly to the T. And you know, they give you the Motorcraft belt number, the Motorcraft tensioner number, and I went ahead and swapped out this upper idler over here as well, since I figured as long as I got all this apart, I might as well do everything I can that has a bearing that might be old, 280,000 miles. So anyways, yeah, step 2, it's getting to be pretty late. I've got neighbors that can probably hear me grinding. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up for the night, but tomorrow I'll go ahead and grind this down like the technical service bulletin calls for, which is to grind it completely flush with the front of the motor here. Alright, so I got the other belt tensioner in there. It's Friday morning, working on this. But the problem is that the pulley doesn't seem like it's sitting where it should be. It doesn't seem like it's sitting flat enough. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it looks like it's at an angle. Like maybe the bottom is still on something. So I think I'm gonna have to take it off again and just make sure I ground underneath enough, maybe jump underneath there and see what I missed. All right, there's the two pieces that I sawed off right there. Sawed those off the front of the OBS alternator bracket. And those are where the stock idler bolted on. I'm gonna show you guys right now. I think I see where it's catching. So where I cut that off at, right there, right on the bottom of the tensioner there, it's still just barely hitting that little nub right there. So I think if I just grind that back right there a little bit, it should sit flush like it's supposed to, but that's probably my problem right there. Alright, so it doesn't look like the threads got chewed up in there. That's where it mounts down there, and this right here, this is the place where I'm gonna have to grind more. It was kind of just bound up on this little lip right here. See, there's like a lip in between the lip, and this is that nub that I ground off earlier. So this needs to be cut back in more. And I guess what I'm gonna have to do is use a Dremel or something to get down in there because it's really tight. All right, I just want to show you guys the difference between these two different belt tensioners. This is the stock OBS Ford belt tensioner with the single pulley. So this is what, you know, it looks like. It has the two dimples on the back and the single bolt that goes through there, and then there's another pulley that sits here next to it, and that's how the factory one looks. So this is the older style, and you know, you unbolt it there and it comes out, and there's another pulley over here that you replace separately. So over here, the technical service bulletin Ford put out, this is the new one. I'll show you the part number on the old one real quick. Okay, so this is starting with an F7TE 6B209-AA. So that's the old part number off the Ford single pulley. And then the new one, this dually model, which is a Ford part also, they both have Ford logo on them, F8UE-CG. So this is the new dual pulley belt tensioner that's supposed to be the upgrade because these were failing so bad that they switched to the new kind. And got my cutter out here because, like I was talking about before, you have to go down in here. You have to cut away this piece right here, and there's a piece that sticks out that's in the way. It's where the original idler pulley went. You pull that off, you cut that off flush, and then I have to also cut back right here. This piece sticks out in the way, and it's hitting on the back of this. So right here, it's actually kind of binding up, and for that reason, you need to cut back this and that part as well. So that's what I'm doing today. I use the new Harbor Freight economy line air compressor that I got for $100 on sale, my Super Saver coupon. And I found this old garden hose roller thing that I wasn't using. It was just kind of laying out back. I almost threw it away or gave it away a couple of times. But anyway, I put my new hose on there. It actually works really well, and I've got the holders in the top and everything. And I think I'll keep my hose on that from now on. That's one of the hassles of having a, you know, mobile compressor, is that you can't really mount your hose up on the wall with it. So you have to have a way to lug it around instead of having the hose just flopping everywhere like wrestling with a snake. I figure why not have it, you know, on something separate that I can just carry around mobily and plug in my compressor and then start doing stuff with my hose. So anyway, yeah, that's something I never really had before. Organized for me at a whole new level, and new air compressor, which I haven't even really got to try out too much yet because I couldn't fit my cutting wheel down in there to start the cut. And I ended up using my angle grinder, my $9 Harbor Freight angle grinder, which is still working today, by the way. It's recovered from its little overheating, smoking episode that happened yesterday. And I used it to cut up the rest of it along with just a hand hacksaw. And here's the hacksaw here. And the pieces that I cut off, this is the piece that was on the end. You can see where the belt was rubbing because I didn't realize you needed to cut that back. And here's the rest of it that I cut off, and then I ground down below that. So that's about how much you have to actually take off. And then, like I said, there's still a little bit more I need to do. There's my old faithful hacksaw laying there that I might end up using a little bit more if I can't get down in here. But I'll probably do a Dremel for the rest because it's so fine to get down in there, or try and get this down there. If I can't get that down in there, I'll just grab my Dremel, take out that last little notch in between here, this little support piece right here, which it says right in this technical service bulletin that that part is what you need to cut out. Grind this back flush and then cut that out. So alright, so I ended up just throwing my cutter wheel on my Dremel here, and there's a look at the piece that I chopped out right there with the Dremel. That's what I cut out. And there's the Dremel and the little cutter I use. Not much left of that cutter wheel, but you get the idea. And right down in there is where this little notch came from. So you can see where it kind of sat right there. And just carved that out, clean that up a little bit. So I did the cuts in like that with the air tool, and then I just went across like that with the Dremel. So that should hopefully give it enough space for that little notch on the back of the new belt tensioner that I was having problems with. Right here, bumping up against it and making it not want to sit in there flush and flat like it should be. So anyways, wish me luck. Hopefully that's enough grinding for today. Cutting, really want to take any more off of there or be bent over inside the cab of this truck anymore. I'd rather be out riding the four-wheeler or test driving my truck with all the new stuff on it that I got. The rebuilt turbo and the rebuilt fuel bowl and the new air intake and the oil catch mod that I did, and glow plugs and harnesses, and rewired everything, 12 volt new wiring all through. I do have some new heater hose I need to put on. It kind of scared me that these were like the stock Motorcraft heater hose, probably from 1995, 1994, late 94, model 95, year 94. So yeah, hopefully this old baby will run for me now. Alright, we're back, and the Super Duty belt tensioner is in there. Man, I didn't think that was going to be a pain as much as it was. But got that in there, got that little notch cut out, cleaned up, and looks like it slid right in there. I'm going to check underneath and make sure it's not bound up again, but I just wanted to show you I did get it in there. I should probably show you the tool I used for the front, and sorry about the mess here, guys. But yeah, here's the tool I used. 13 millimeter long socket, also from Harbor Freight. It's a Pittsburgh Impact 13 millimeter long socket, and a regular old standard ratchet, my Ace Professional ratchet that I have. And anyhow, got that all tightened on. Now I can actually see if my belt's gonna fit or not. I have one pulley I need to install up here on the other side of the alternator there. So there's one pulley I got to put in still, and then I can check and see if my Super Duty belt tensioner will work. But first I'm going to go underneath here and just see if it's bound up like it was before. Making sure it's not bound up or anything. And so far it's looking pretty good, but I think I'm actually going to grab my cell phone and take a closer look. Just want to make sure it's not caught anywhere in there at all. And just offhand, it looks like it is cleared and there is a gap there, just enough. Not sure how you'd be able to tell or not, but everything's all nice and lined up now. And before, when I got in here, I mean, I could just tell right away, just by kind of looking at it, that like this pulley was not at the same level as that one. It was not like lined up flat with it. And now it appears to be at like the same angle as that one. So this is sitting flush, I believe now. I hope, anyway. Doesn't seem like it's bound up anywhere now. It's mainly that tab underneath you have to grind on. So, a whole bunch of metal shavings on my fan. I'm gonna have to clean those all off before I start it. I don't want all those metal shavings getting all in everything. It'd be bad. So I'll wipe those off with a paper towel or something first. But yeah, I think I finally got it, guys. Looks like it's nice and straight in there. Alright, almost got my belt on there. Just got to put it on the tensioner there, but I went ahead and done the rest. If you're thinking about how to get started with the belt, the best thing I could say is that, you know, on the bottom there's a pulley down here, and just go after this one first. Go after the crankshaft pulley and the water pump. So grab a loop and stick it down there around that, and then go to the water pump and then come around this side. That's what I did. So I mainly just looped this one, went through there, and then I did this and this, you know, over there. Got that part all taken care of, got it down over to here, to where the idler pulley's at there, looped that on top, and then now I have it basically, all I have to do is loop it around the other side of the inside of the tensioner after I use a wrench to take the, you know, tension off the tensioner while I slip it over. So everything, all that routing is done right up to this point, and I just need to push the belt onto the other side of the tensioner. So you can see it there. And here's the belt. I need to push here, and I'm going to push this loop down and around the inside of that pulley there. And it looks like it's actually going to fit once I take the tension out, hopefully. Fuel pressure is right at 50 still. So I don't know if that BB was enough. Maybe I'll have to put another BB in there. Boost is going to be right there. I'm not sure why it shows it flickering. It doesn't flicker in real life. It's just on camera for some reason. So I don't know if that's flickering for you guys. Oil pressure right at about 1, 2, 3, 30, 40, right about 50. So oil pressure is at 50. Also, of course, I just started it, so it's not very warm yet. And volts are 14.3. So the fuel pressure doesn't appear to be dropping like it was. It's pretty consistent right at 50. I'll have to take it for a drive and make sure, but looks like when I was getting on at that time, it was staying right at 50 like it should be instead of dropping down. I'll have to take it for a ride though and make sure, because it has to be under a load to test it for sure. That seems much better though.